Welcome to the Evangelism Podcast. I'm excited about telling people about Jesus all over the world. And today I have a wonderful guest. His name is Bryan Citrin, and he is a business entrepreneur who also has a heart for ministry. So first, he started out as a campus missionary with Chi Alpha on the campus of UCLA, ministering to students there in California. A lot of them need Jesus. Then he started going on mission trips to Haiti and to Vietnam. And when you go on mission trips, you got to raise a lot of money to do it. And so his idea was to start his very own marketing business. And so with this marketing business, he has made a lot of money that he's been able to put into missions. He actually joined the 2 Comma Club on an online marketing company called ClickFunnels, which means that his company has earned more than $1 million in revenue from online marketing. And so now he started his own company called leadflows.com, and he's an expert in both marketing and ministry. He's also a good friend of mine. Bryan, thank you for being on the podcast today.
Thanks so much, Daniel. I'm so happy to be here.
So tell me a little bit about how you got started in ministry and how you started out ministering on the campus there in UCLA.
Sure, thanks. So my background is business. So I have a Bachelor of Science in Entrepreneurship. And so back in 2009, I graduated from Missouri State University. And approaching my graduation date, I was praying about what I should do. I just got done writing a business plan. I was the president of the Entrepreneurship Association, and I wanted to launch this business and make a bunch of money. You see, I wanted to actually fund the gospel. I didn't want to actually have to go and be a missionary. But six months before I graduated, the Lord started dealing with me to move out to LA and work with his campus ministry at UCLA. And I didn't really know much about UCLA, and I knew that my brother's mentor had moved out there to pioneer campus ministry about 5 years prior, and I had spoken to him briefly in the past, and he said that I should pray about moving out to LA and doing an internship with him. And I was praying about what I should do, and when he originally offered me that internship, it went in one ear and out the other ear, because I had no interest in going on the mission field. But as I was praying in the Spirit and praying in English about what I should do, that thought came back to me. And I remember I was at church praying about the direction where I should go, and I really sensed that God wanted me to do that. And even throughout my whole college career, I'd somehow met different people that foreshadowed a connection with this pastor out in Los Angeles. And so I called my brother and I said I had a problem. And he said, "What was that?" I told him that I felt the Lord wanted me to move out to one of the most expensive cities in the world and essentially work for free. Like, this is crazy. I spent years getting in debt and, studying to become an awesome entrepreneur, and now God wants me to forsake everything and go be a missionary. And so I told that to my brother, and he says, if God's calling me to do that, I need to go ahead and call that pastor and let him know. And so I went ahead and called him and told him I felt that the Lord was calling me to go out to LA and internship with him. And later, when everything was official, I told him that it was on the bottom of my list for things to do in terms of moving out to LA and being a missionary. And he looks at me and he says, "Bryan, you weren't even on my list." He says, "I don't remember offering you an internship. I just did it to be nice, probably. But I was driving on the 405 highway, praying for the direction of the ministry, about to go on a week-long fast, and the Spirit of God spoke to me and told me I was about to get an unexpected phone call, and they better be open to it, and the answer pretty much better be yes." And I called him within minutes. And that was my journey into full-time ministry out at UCLA in Los Angeles.
So you ministered there on the campus in UCLA, had a tremendous impact there, and then you started going on mission trips. First you started going to Haiti, and now you've been on something like 24 mission trips down to Haiti. Tell me a little bit about what your ministry has been doing in the nation of Haiti.
So there's this village that our ministry supports, and we've been going down there. The pastor I work with has been going down there for over 20 years. And this ministry, it doesn't get a bunch of outside support from other individuals, so we're pretty much the only ongoing support this village gets. And so we go down there, we actually started a library in this village, we put on ministry, crusade events down there, we put on church services, we have put on evening feeding programs, we invest in economic development to help create jobs, because the solution is long-term job development. You have to invest in education, you have to invest in economic development, and that's going to be sustainable. And so we invest in things that are sustainable down there. We hosted the first ever graduation ceremony for this village. Kids are growing up, they're getting to go to school because of us, they're going to college because of us, but most importantly, they're getting to know Jesus because of us. And they're duplicating and they're making an impact in other people's lives in the village and throughout Haiti as well. And it's incredible the impact we've been able to make down there for the gospel and just for the practical needs that we've been able to meet down there.
Haiti is the poorest nation in the Western Hemisphere. And so job development is so crucial to helping the people there in Haiti. And I love how you're combining this training in entrepreneurship and business with ministry, helping the people down there in Haiti become self-sustainable so that they don't live in poverty, so that they can have their needs met. And then God's also opened the door for you to go to one of the 5 communist countries in the world, the country of Vietnam. Tell me, what is God doing in Vietnam?
So I took my first trip to Vietnam in 2019, and last year, 2020, we would have taken multiple trips down there, but because of COVID-19, we just haven't been able to go there. But they want us to go, and they've been praying for us to go there. But the pastor I work with, he was born in Vietnam and came over to the United States as a refugee. And there's actually a pretty powerful article that was just released about this. And so I know that you guys can probably find this article underneath this blog. Underneath this.
Yeah, I'll provide a link for it on our website under the Evangelism Podcast, so you can find it.
But that's the pastor who I've been working with, and he's Vietnamese, and he was elected as the head of the Vietnamese fellowship here in the United States for the Assemblies of God. So all the Vietnamese churches in the United States that are affiliated with the Assemblies of God, they look to him for leadership. And so the head of the Assemblies of God in Vietnam asked him to come over there. And just so you know, the Assemblies of God is the largest spirit-filled movement in that nation. And Vietnam is in the 1040 window, one of the most unreached people groups in the world is in the 1040 window. So this is a huge deal. And so they asked us to come over there. We really didn't even know what to expect. And I remember when we went over there on this first trip, they were having this pastors gathering in Ho Chi Minh City. And the whole place was packed. These pastors actually paid to be there. They had to turn people away. And these are pastors and their staff there in the Ho Chi Minh City area. And the head of the Assemblies of God looks to us and says, you guys are the speakers for this pastors conference. And so literally we had to train these pastors for 3 days in a row for 4 sessions a day. So I was with 3 other people, and each of us took a session, and we trained day after day after day these pastors. And they told us later that 70% of those pastors that were at that event and their staff had been in prison for their faith. I'm like, wow, 70% of them have been in prison for their faith. I've never been in prison for my faith. I live in America, so comparatively speaking, everything in America is super easy. But
that's quite humbling to be in a situation where the people that you're ministering to have paid such a high price to be Christian. What do you say to people that are in that situation?
That are being persecuted for their faith, you're
Yeah.
saying? If someone is being persecuted for their faith, I'd say that just stay strong, keep pursuing the Lord, and I know there's a lot of resources online available to you to help draw you closer to Christ, but never forget that there's power in this gospel. There is power in this gospel, and even as the early church, they experienced persecution. This persecution allowed the gospel to the spread not only in Jerusalem but throughout Israel and throughout the world eventually. This gospel can't be stopped, and there's power in this gospel. And the incredible thing about these people in Vietnam is they're seeing signs and wonders and miracles. They're seeing God intervene and do the supernatural. They're seeing incredible moves of God that I've seen lacking in many churches here in the United States.
Let's talk a little bit about marketing, because you have a gift for ministry, but you also have a genius that God has given you for entrepreneurship. You're a true entrepreneur. You take risks, you invest money, you develop different ways of marketing. And a lot of the people who are listening, they have their own ministries. And of course, one of the things that every ministry needs is money in order to complete the vision that God has given them. And so what advice, or how can you help people who are in ministry? How can you help them with their marketing?
Sure, that's a great question, Daniel. And so I have actually spent more in online marketing and online like business strategy than I have in my college degree. And so I'm very, very talented, very, very gifted in this arena. And so what I would say is leverage tools that help scale your ministry. There's tools out there that you can leverage, and we're going to even talk about these tools later, that can really help you fundraise. Because there's technology out there that can help you take time away from administrative works so you can be out there advancing the gospel. I know that I recently wrote an article in Forbes that a couple articles in Forbes, but one of them specifically was created so you can take this Forbes article and send it to a business leader, maybe somebody you want to become an anchor donor. You can send on this article, and by sending this article you can ask their feedback on this article, and the whole purpose is to help bridge an opportunity for them to actually, you to ask them for money and for them to be an anchor donor. And I know that the name of that article is 6 Ways to Create a Philanthropic Culture in Your Business.
And so this article would be something that if someone's in ministry, they could actually forward this article to someone who is a supporter or a potential supporter to encourage them to give more to people who are in ministry.
Yeah, and I know that the whole thing is you would send it to somebody and you say, hey, I just read this article. I want to know your thoughts on how you're doing that with your business. What or some kinds of things you're doing in your business to kind of implement some of these principles. And then either, number one, they're not doing anything and it gets them thinking and opens up a bridge for you to ask them to do it for you, or they are doing it and it still opens up a bridge for you to ask for them to do it for you.
I think it's absolutely amazing that you have been published in Forbes. I mean, Forbes is the premier business magazine, business website in the United States that talks about business. And so the fact that you have the credentials as an entrepreneur to be accepted to write an article for Forbes is pretty impressive. And also the other thing I like about the articles you've written for Forbes is that you are using these articles to talk to people in the business world about Jesus. Because the business world is just as much of a mission field as going to the nation of Haiti or going to the nation of Vietnam. I mean, people in the business world are broken, they're hurting, they need Jesus, they might be successful in one area of their life, but desperately needing help in other areas. And so tell me, how can someone access these articles that you've written on Forbes?
Oh, yes, and so I actually made it so you can text in to get access to these articles. And so go ahead and text this number, 918-265-3050. And you're going to text the word growth. Once again, that's 918-265-3050, and you're going to text the word growth.
So text the word growth to 918-265-3050, and Bryan is going to send you these resources that will help you to raise money for your ministry.
Another thing that's going to be really exciting about this is we're about to release a free fundraising program, like some free training on fundraising. And so if you text that number, you're going to get added to a list to get early access or access when that launches for this fundraising program that we're about to release. I'm super excited about that.
That's something that every ministry needs, is the ability to be efficient at their fundraising and to raise more money. I don't think I've ever met a missionary or an evangelist who says, we have too much, stop giving. Everyone has bigger vision than they have the resources. And so those are such valuable resources. Thank you, Bryan, so much for sharing about what you're doing and the impact you're having around the world. Thank you for being on the Evangelism Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Daniel.
Daniel King is on a mission to save 1 million souls a year, but he can't do it alone. Would you consider sowing a financial seed today? To give, please visit www.kingministries.com.